Welcome, guys. We've had the qualifying session for the Japanese Grand Prix, and well, that ended spectacular with a surprise man on pole position. And we'll get to him, but let's just go quickly through the Q1 and Q2 sessions. Q1, it was a bad one for Lance Stroll. He's qualified in last place. He had a horrible turn two in the crucial S's section, which seemed like everybody was struggling to get that bit right. But if you did get that right, the rest of your lap was really where, you know, if your tyres came up, warmed up, and you were on a good run. But for Lance Stroll, it ended horribly on his last run, which was crucial for him, really badly. Jack Doohan, 19th place, probably just glad to be back out there after the massive crash he had in practice. Got the car in FP3 actually, so didn't have too much running time, but I think he did. It's always going to be a tough one when you've not had, as a rookie, you've not had the time on track to really, you know, make the most of it and get things back to where you want them. So a bit of disappointing, probably wanted to do a little bit better than that, but he was kind of on the back foot going into the qualifying session anyway. Esteban Ocon, he'll be the most disappointed, qualified in 18th place. That car was quick in the hands of his teammate, but he was well off in this session. Gabby Bortoletto in 17th and Nico Hülkenberg in 16th. He just missed out. Liam Lawson squeezed through. It looked like he would go out in Q1 again for the third time this season, did Lawson, but just squeezed through with 15 thousandths of a second faster than Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg did feel like he had a little bit more in it, probably just enough to squeeze into Q2. Wasn't really too happy with the setup and the way that they started their run for their final lap. And it was a good performance from Isaac Hadjar in that one, got it through into P2. Clearly there was some issue with his seatbelt going on or within the cockpit, couldn't really work out what. Just really struggled to get the maximum that he felt. He felt there was an awful lot more in there, but still he qualified through in that session in P2 12. So overall he beating his teammate despite them issues. It was Oscar Piastri that led the way in that one. George Russell in second, split the two McLarens with Norris third in that Q1 session, and it did look like for all the world it would be the McLaren to take pole position. Into Q2, we got another red flag for a fire on the grass. We've seen this a couple of times throughout this weekend. We had it previously, I think it was Bahrain, where we've got the sparks on the skid blocks causing the fire or the grass to set on fire, which is absolutely insane. But yeah, P15 for Yuki Tsunoda, half a second of Max Verstappen, in that session. In the end, it just didn't come together. His Q2 second run on that Q2 session, he made a mistake at turn 2, which I was trying to get at. Got there eventually. Made a mistake at Q2 turn 2, and that really cost him. It was just, the S's is so crucial, and it just seems like once you've got that flow there, it really does set up the rest of the lap, but it just didn't quite come together for him. He'll be disappointed because up until that session, Q1 was really good. I mean, it was just a place or two behind Max Verstappen at the end of Q1 session, and you thought, oh, this is kind of really what Red Bull wanted, someone that can come in and just, they're not going to beat Max Verstappen, let's be honest, but at least get close to him. P15 for Yuki Tsunoda was the talk of the town, and he's been beaten by the man that he's replaced, Liam Lawson, and that Racing Bulls looks brilliant, actually. So good to drive. Liam Lawson, though, 14th place, and he'll be disappointed because he's been hammered by his teammate as well. So the two guys that have come in, both kind of struggled when it comes to qualifying, actually, hasn't it? Lawson, although be happy, he's beaten the other man in the Red Bull that he's replaced, but he's still been comfortably beaten by his teammate, so he'll be still finding his feet, so it's, you know, it can't be too critical. It's his first run. Like Yuki jumping into that Red Bull, it's so hard to just jump in a new car and get to grips with it straight away. It was never really going to happen. It'll be interesting to see them two line up on the grid tomorrow, though, for the rundown of turn 1 between the pair of them will be brilliant. 13th place, Fernando Alonso. That Aston Martin's struggling, aren't they? They just seem to be behind the Williams, behind the Alpine, scrapping with places where they've robbed the place of obviously a Red Bull and Racing Bulls, but ultimately I think if them two pull their laps off together, they should be faster than Fernando Alonso. So Aston Martin a little bit nowhere at the moment. Carlos Sainz in P12. Again, he's struggled with that car. He's been beaten by his teammate again. Was about 3/10 off Alex Albon in that session. So still got time to find. He can't really quite get comfortable with this car just yet. A lot of adjusting to do for him. Pierre Gasly in 11th place, decent enough, puts himself in a position to fight for some points tomorrow. The star of that session, Ollie Behrman with a P8, he was absolutely on fire. Lando Norris again led the way on this one. George Russell second, and Max Verstappen with a surprise third in that session. But like I said, for all the world, it looked like it would be a McLaren pole position. And let's jump to Q3, and we'll start with the man on pole position. And it's not the McLarens. Yes, it's Max Verstappen with an absolutely cracking lap. Was that his best ever? Christian Horner said it was probably his best ever pole position lap. I mean, it was... I watched it back a good few times. Just rewinded it and played it back. It was inch perfect. He had a couple of little niggles, slides, but he controlled them so well. It just looked immaculate. There was not too much drama, and to do that in that Red Bull car, which we've seen throughout all of the sessions, has been an absolute pig to drive. To pull that off, to beat two McLarens for all the world, that they looked like they would comfortably 3/10 faster than the rest of the field. But for Max to come and do that, it was absolutely brilliant, and it's why he's still in this fight to be a five-time world champion. This is why he'll pull and scrape together, because this Red Bull won't be this bad forever. And McLaren kind of needs to do what Red Bull did last season and make a march and get that big points gap to Red Bull before they come and fight back. But Max Verstappen is not going to go down without a fight, and this guy is absolutely incredible. What a lap. This is why he's a four-time world champion. As much as you might not like him, I wasn't a massive fan, but this guy, you just can't not like what he does. It was an absolutely incredible lap. We've all sort of said, oh yes, it's because he's got the best equipment and this and that, but clearly he's not got the best equipment, and he just pulled off an absolutely mega lap. We know he likes it around here, but that was stunning. Second place man, Lando Norris, and he was actually quite happy with his lap. He just didn't feel like there was an awful lot more in it for him. But I think that showed because he's not been the quickest of the two McLarens, and he was fairly happy-ish with his second place. I think he knew that he'd probably line up second. Probably not to Max Verstappen though, but more to his teammate who lines up in third place, Oscar Piastri. He'll be the man that's most disappointed. It was his final run in the first sector. He was 3/10 down, and that's where he lost all the time. But for that, he would comfortably in on pole position because his sector 2 and 3 were the fastest of anybody. But he lost it all in that first sector, and he'll be kicking himself for that because he looked like he was the man pole position. He was absolutely on it, Oscar Piastri. But can he go and take the win from third place on his birthday? It'll be difficult because it's hard to overtake in Japan, and they'll be itching at the bit to try and get past Max Verstappen early doors. The pair of the McLarens and that crucial running down into turn 1 will be massive, and we'll see how the first stint runs off from there. Fourth place man, Charles Leclerc. I think he did the best he could in the Ferrari. I did expect them to go a little bit better and be a bit closer to the McLarens. You weren't a million miles off, but you don't have to be in this field, do you? A couple of tenths and you're way out of the picture, and I think Charles did a decent enough job, just didn't have that Ferrari underneath him today. George Russell in 5th place, and I think he'll be actually disappointed because as you've seen in the Q1 and Q2, he was in second, and he was, split the two McLarens twice, and just really on it, and it just didn't come together in his Q3 run. Made a mistake in the early part of the lap, and also again towards the end of the lap, and that really cost him a scruffy final run for George Russell, and I think he'll be Probably one of the most disappointed because he looked like he'd be a lot closer up the field because he was been absolutely on it. 6th place, Kimi Antonelli. I think he's done a decent enough job. Came home just behind his teammate. I think he'd be fairly happy with that in the end. Just didn't quite seem to be on it. But the man of the session, I think, alongside Max Verstappen, is 7th place man Isaac Hadjar, because this guy just pulled off an incredible session. He seemed to absolutely hook everything up. 7 places ahead of his teammate Liam Lawson. Beats the other Red Bull, the fastest of the second fastest Red Bull guy of the 4. I mean, this guy's absolutely shown he's got 1 lap pace. It's what he's done for the first couple of races, and he just needs to try and hope it comes together for him in the race. Let's hope the Racing Bulls don't screw up his strategy for him tomorrow. Lewis Hamilton lines up in 8th place. He seemed to be a bit all over the place, didn't he? In Q2, it looked like he was getting better and getting the hang of this car. In Q3, it seems to be lost away from him. He was losing too much time in Sector 1 and then had an awful lot to do in Sector 2. And if he'd pushed hard in Sector 1, by the time he got to Sector 3, his tyres had gone and he'd missed in the apex and the final chicane and just wasn't getting a clean run at all. So a really fine balancing act for the Ferraris. They just couldn't seem to get these tyres in the window they needed, and especially in the hands of Lewis Hamilton. I think he'll be disappointed though. He was 3/10 off Charles Leclerc, his teammate, so a little bit of a gap for him to plug there. 9th place, Alex Albon. He'll be very happy with that. A good qualifying session for him. He'll be hopeful he can just hold on for that for some good points in the race tomorrow. I think his target really be trying. I'm not sure he could try and beat Lewis Hamilton if he can just get past him. But his target, I think, would be try and get past Isaac Hadjar ahead of him. The other guys look like they're just a bit faster than the Williams at the moment, if we just go on what we should expect from the Big 4. And another man, which is absolutely incredible, Ollie Berman, P10. He was absolutely flying for all that session in that Haas car, which we've seen early doors isn't a very good car, nothing like what we've seen last season, and this guy's been absolutely on it. He's 8 places ahead of his teammate Esteban Ocon, and he can be absolutely mega happy with that session overall. Let's go to my predictions. I had Norris on pole, Charles Leclerc 2nd, and George Russell in 3rd place. Big cross on all 3 of them, but we've got Max Verstappen on pole position. I don't think many seen that coming, even the guys in the Red Bull garage. I don't think seen that coming, because that was absolutely incredible, and he set it up to be a brilliant race, because but for Max Verstappen, we'd have seen the 2 McLarens absolutely run away with it, because they were comfortably about 2-3 seconds, tenths a lap of a second a lap faster than the rest of the field. And in the race, that would have just correlated to being 10, 15, 20 seconds ahead up the field, as they are very, very good on keeping their tyres. And especially if you can keep track position and throw the dirty air behind and screw the guy's tyres up behind. I think that's the job Max Verstappen has to do tomorrow. Not sure he's confident on his race runs, but I'm sure he'll fight like a tiger like he always does, and try and do something from there. And whatever the rest of them will be just hoping to get good starts, jump the guy ahead of him and just try and see what they can hold on. And let's see how the overtaking works in Japan. Last year was a bit of a struggle. Let's see how it goes. We've got mixed weather conditions again in the mix for tomorrow's race. So let's see how that pans out as well. It should be really, really interesting. Cannot wait for the race to get going tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, see you on the next one.